This is a production of WKNO Memphis. Production funding for Sports Files is made possible in part by the WKNO Production Fund, the WKNO Endowment Fund, and by viewers like you. Thank you.
My guest today on Sports Files is the head coach of the Memphis Tigers men's basketball team, Josh Pastner. The Memphis Tigers will open up play in the NCAA tournament tomorrow night when they face George Washington from the Atlantic 10 Conference. The Tigers are an 8 seed with a 23-9 record that included 5 top 25 wins. Their first round ouster in last week's American Conference tournament was a shock to the system, one that has left head coach Josh Pastner at a loss for words. But now the Tigers have a chance to redeem themselves with a good showing in the Big Dance. Last year, Pastner picked up his first tourney win, but this year would likely have to knock off #1 Virginia to advance to the second weekend. And if they don't, there will be many that will consider the season a bust, especially when you consider the fact the Tigers were in the top 25 all season long. Today, a special tourney preview with the head coach of the Tigers, Josh Pastner, next on Sports Files. Well, Josh, I know it's been a crazy week preparing for tomorrow's game. We thank you so much for your time.
Well, I appreciate you having me, and I tell you what, I love watching your show. You do a great job.
Thank you.
You have great guests, and you ask great questions, and not even just basketball people, just anyone, any other sports, just interesting figures, and you ask really good questions.
Well, I appreciate that. An 8 seed. I know you thought maybe 6, maybe 7. You draw GW in an 8-9 game. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I had felt on Sunday when the brackets were being announced, and here we are watching them on earlier in the week. When I saw Louisville go to the 4, because I had thought Louisville was playing. I think they're playing as maybe the best team in the country.
Tino thought they were a 1.
Yeah,
they were going to be a 1.
For them not to be a 1, I was a little surprised. I thought maybe they end up being a 2, but when I saw them before, I thought everyone was going to drop down because I originally thought we were going to be a 6 or a 7 because of our strength of our schedule and the strength of our league. I thought because of the league they were going to really value our league, but obviously they didn't, and so everyone dropped down a spot or two. And what it probably shows you is 2 things, because a lot of people are asking me about the SMU all through the week. They've been asking me, well, what do you think about SMU? Obviously, they weighed the non-conference schedule, their non-conference schedule, and we played a great schedule. And obviously they were in the 300s for non-conference, so it mattered. That's one. I also think it mattered, and we have to do as a league a better job. Is from top to bottom, everyone's got to have good numbers, and that starts in the non-conference. You've got a scheduled team, but you also got to win, and those things matter. So if you do take a loss or two to different teams in the league, it doesn't drop you and bury you. That we needs to be where it's not. There are no such thing as a bad loss, if that makes sense. In committee's eyes.
There is no easy game in this tournament. Obviously, you lose, you go home. But for all things considered, this 8-9 matchup with GW, which will be tough, you're in the region in the East with Virginia, who's the 4th #1. They play a completely different style, so if you win tomorrow and they take care of business, you guys will meet up with Virginia. So with again, all things considered, I guess it could have been worse. Still be a challenge, though.
Well, I mean, look, Greg, you're at this tournament, who's not good that's in it? I mean, there's 68 teams. There's 361 Division I teams. That means there's 293 teams are not playing in the NCAA tournament. So only 68, and you're talking 68 are really good. And it's becoming increasingly harder. And I said this on Sunday, I've said it Monday, I've said it Tuesday, I've said it Wednesday. It's becoming increasingly harder to get in the tournament. And people in the profession understand that. And it's not a birthright to be part of the NCAA tournament. It's not a birthright. It's hard to do. And but once you get in, hey, it's a fresh start. Everyone's good. Greg, you've been covering this long enough. You know this. If a team starts making a bunch of threes, whether it's us or the opponent, you're going to have a great chance of winning the game.
Right.
And really that's what it comes down to. You got to make some shots. We got to make some shots. It becomes possession by possession. But, hey, people talk about guards win in tournament time, and we do have 4 senior guards. And I know they've not all been good at the same time at different games. There's been some highs and lows with them, but there'd be no better time by the law of average to work itself out and be all on sync tomorrow night.
And with that said, and I completely agree, because there are people, they're critical, oh, Josh is bringing up that 4 guard thing and there's too much dependency on the 4 guards.
What are your other options?
Yeah. Well, people that say that, and again, I've said this, and I said it, this past Sunday at my press conference, where there's a minority of people, and I call it the squeaky wheel. I mean, it's a very small minority who I don't really look at as they're true Tiger fans. They're negative Nellies.
Right.
They just want to complain no matter what it is. We could be 40-0 and they would complain. But the majority of true Tiger Nation fans, I'm talking the 99.9%, they're going to be critical when you don't play well. They're going to be critical of lineups. They're going to be critical of things don't go right. They're going to be critical if we don't win tomorrow. They're going to be critical if we don't play well or don't shoot the ball well. But they're also going to be excited when we play well. And they also understand it's a long season. And they don't go so high and so low after each individual game. I mean, they might be upset some and be excited on others. And so I think the majority people understand, hey, okay, you've got 4 guards. I mean, what coach in the country wouldn't, use those 4 guards? And we have not, and this, again, this is an absolute perception. We have not played 4 guards at once. I mean, we played it very rarely since early in the season.
Perception is you play them a lot, but you don't.
We don't. We play the 4 guards, not all at once, but rotating. And there's maybe a couple times possession here and there because of defense, but we've really done 2 posts at all times, pretty much from the beginning. After the Oklahoma State game at Stillwater, we've really done 2 posts.
All right, let me ask you this. I mean, I think you and I can agree, and a lot of other people will agree. I mean, you had a lot of big wins, and you had a lot of bounce-back wins as well, so you really bounced back from adversity, which you're trying to do tomorrow. How tough was it in preparation for this tournament, the mental aspect of things after the dud against Connecticut in the tournament, the conference tournament?
Greg, let me say this. I didn't see the dud coming because we had a great week of practice. We had our best shoot-around since I've ever been here. We just laid an egg. We stunk. We were not good. And UConn kicked our butt on our home floor. And it was no fun. And I apologize to the fans. I apologize to the FedEx Forum. I apologize to the university.
You took the blame.
I take full responsibility because it starts. And when we lose, the head coach's got to accept responsibility. And so I didn't see that coming. I would have put my entire salary that we weren't going to play like that. I'm serious. I mean, I just had no idea. Usually as a team, you feel that we were just in a daze. So you get punched and punched and punched, and then the negativity.
Right.
And now you got to get the guys back. So we've had a good week, and I think actually what the best thing that happened was we practiced Friday and Saturday. I was originally going to give the guys a day off on Friday. Probably the best thing that I did was because my assistants told me we need to practice, and they were right. And we practiced, and we had a great practice on Friday, great practice on Saturday. I gave them the day off on Sunday and the day of selection Sunday, and then we've had good practice this week. Hopefully ready to go for tomorrow.
I mean, they need to buy into it that it was an anomaly, that it was very rare, it was just one of those things, and we're going to be ready.
Well, here's the other thing. I think people in Memphis, Tiger Nation, I think because we've had some and we've had a great regular season, Greg. I don't want to take away. We've had a very good regular season, and we had a bad game versus UConn in that conference tournament. But I think some of that because of the UConn, the way that dud, as you called it, and I called it a stinker. I think because we've had some of those games where it kind of avalanched on us throughout the year, some of our losses. And so I think that bothers people. And that's just somewhat of a makeup of our team. 2 things. One, we haven't done a great job. We've gotten better, but when it's kind of gone south, we haven't stopped it. It's gone south and south and south.
Right.
On the other hand, and because of that's gone south because we haven't scored, meaning that we are a team, because of whatever it is, usually teams you want to be a defensive identity. We're really an offensive identity, and we are best when we score. And when we're not scoring for whatever it is with our team,
they get down on the defensive end, right?
And we just don't. And it's hard for us to stop. We've done some games where we stopped the avalanche, but there's been other games where it's just gone south. And part of that is everyone talks defense. No, it's because when we're not making shots, we're missing layups, we're missing free throws. It just sucks the life out of us on the defensive end.
It snowballs.
That's just our makeup of our team.
Right.
And again, people might not like it, and the criticism, and it can go to me, but that is what our personnel, our personalities and the personnel with our team for this year. That's kind of where it's at, and we are 3rd in the country in assist. But again, if we can start scoring, a lot of that stuff gets washed under, and we're able to win games.
All right, one more quick thing on the conference tournament, and this is beyond your control. Obviously, if you have the decision to make, it's coming back to Memphis next season. Do you believe this tournament will come back with the Tigers falling in the quarters? The crowds weren't as big as they expected. Do you think it'll be back at FedEx Forum?
I think that that we lost in the quarterfinals, the teams won't be so upset about, the other coaches will be okay with us.
Bring it back to Memphis.
So, I don't know. I think it'll be back. I don't think it'll be back after 15, but I do think it'll be back for 15,
Okay.
and then I think it'll be somewhere else in 16.
David Pelham, one of the seniors, one of the 6 that you have. Actually, we saw 7 on senior day with Hippolyte, but 6 active players. Played at GW. Obviously was injured, did not play last year. Can you learn something from Pelham talking about his old team?
Yeah, I'm sure you can learn some things, maybe the nature of what coach likes to do and things like that. But, I've had a lot of people text me through the week, hey, you're going to know all their calls, you know what they're going to do, This is a different team. I mean, this like
portable change in knowing that.
But we don't know. I mean, we're not going to. He doesn't have all their calls, and they're going to. People change year by year and what they call stuff. So, but we got to watch films. And again, Greg, I believe this. Basketball's so much different than football. Football, so much of it you can have strategy, and you have a week to prepare, breakdowns, and all these. I think basketball, you are who you are. And again, you're not going to change a bunch of things. We got to play how we got to play. And like I said, we're a little bit offensive minded, and we got to make shots. And if we make shots, we got a great chance of winning the game.
Who is the single most important player for you guys?
No
to have a good
question.
run?
It's not one. It's 2. It's Joe Jackson and Chris Crawford.
Okay.
And if they're in a daze and not playing well, let's pack the airplane up and we'll head home. If they're both at a high level, we got a great chance of advancing.
We've seen them both at high levels at times. A lot of times more at a high level than not.
But when they're not, it hurts.
It really hurts, and that's also a snowball effect. But let me ask you this: they have not. You really don't have this big vocal guy on the court and this big vocal leader. You have 4 seniors. You have 2 that have been with the program for 4 years. Does that hurt?
Yeah, I think it hurts. I also think we probably don't have a true point guard at times too. Because both Joe and Chris have done a great job of we put them, hand on the ball, but they both have the ability to be combos and scoring guards, even coming from high school. But so they've really improved in that area. But I think some of the natural tendencies, where you're talking about a vocal guy, we don't have that vocal guy, and those are things that we've got to, well, hopefully through recruiting and everything else, we'll have a nice vocal guy in the leadership role. But I don't want to take anything away from Chris and Joe. Those guys have won a lot of games. They've won us a lot of games. They've been tremendous here. They've graduated. They've been tremendous, role models for the university and for the athletic department in that Memphis jersey. And they've also won part of a class that's won a lot of games.
You've been very successful with the high-low, going inside to Austin, going inside to Shaq.
And see, that's another thing. Not a lot of people talk about that. I've had more people, or why don't we play high-low basketball? We do play high-low basketball, and that's what I'm talking. That's the minority,
right?
And that's being uneducated, as in terms of uneducated about understanding the game.
Do you need to do a better job? Stop listening to them.
Could be, but it's hard not to because
it's everywhere.
It's everywhere. So, and here's my thing, and I hope people respect this. I don't like hide from it. Like I don't.
No, you don't.
I'm very transparent. I can have a dialogue. Fans can be up. I can dialogue. Same thing with media. I don't ever. And so I'm upfront about stuff. And I think, as much as people get on me about coaches speak, about about talking about other programs and other players and coaches, one thing I don't give coaches speak is about our team and about how I feel and this and that. And I think I've been extremely transparent, maybe as any head coach in the country, about their team, because I don't look at it as my team.
Yeah.
It's Tiger Nation's team, and they deserve to be transparent.
Shooting has been inconsistent. You even said you thought it would be better going into the year. With that said, do you think GW sags in the middle and forces you to take outside shots?
They're going to do the same thing that UConn did. They're going to do the same thing that SMU has done. They're going to do the same thing that Cincinnati's done. We're going to have to make threes. If we don't make some threes, it's going to suck the life. I mean, they're going to be sucked in, and we're going to then, if we don't make some threes, it makes it much more difficult. And it doesn't mean we have to shoot 20 threes or 30 threes. Like, we beat Louisville. We shot 9 threes. We were 6 of 9. That's why we won the game. Louisville was 4 of 23. We don't have to shoot a bunch.
But it gives them something to think about if you're successful,
but you've got to
right?
make some. You've got to make some. And Greg, we're not a selfish team.
Not at all.
We move the ball so well. Our shots are open. And I've had people tell me, well, why don't you just tell them not to shoot threes? Again, guys are open. You got to give them confidence, and if they're open, they got to make shots.
I always say there's 2 grades: how you guys did in the regular season, ultimately how you did in the postseason.
Right.
How would you grade out the regular season?
I would grade our regular season a B. B as in boy, and I say that because we had a lot of 5 top 25 wins, swept Louisville, and won the Old Spice preseason tournament, and a new league, and a much tougher league. and where UConn, Louisville, Cincinnati had the advantage of being in the Big East all those years to understand that this is our first year in it, so we had to grow and learn from it. Obviously, I grade ourselves an F, as in Frank, in the conference tournament, and then the grade will to be determined in the third season with the NCAA tournament.
What do you think this team has to do in the postseason? And then you could talk about wins, you could talk about just play, how they play, to call it successful.
I think I put a lot on the regular season as being, is it a success or not? I personally, as a coach, I put a lot on the regular season. Like I said, I graded a B as in boy. But all signs say road to the Final Four. It doesn't say road to the regular season. So everything's going to be judged on what we do in the NC2A tournament. And I understand that. I'm not ducking it. I'm not hiding from it. You and everybody else in the media, print, TV, radio, fans, they've said in the preseason, hey, if Memphis has got to get to the second weekend, for us, when I say us, meaning to consider it. I mean, I heard you say it many times. It's a second weekend to consider successful.
Right.
So I think if you're asking me, I feel our regular season has been successful. But I think Tiger Nation, for them to say it's a success, we're going to have to get to the second weekend.
Do you think, this seems like it's an obvious answer to this question, playing in the American has prepared you better?
100%. We're just a better team because of the better competition we played night in, night out. And again, I'm a huge fan of Conference USA, and there were some really good teams. But the Cincinnatis, the Connecticuts, the Louisvilles, the SMUs now. We played a heck of a league, and I think that's going to better prepare us going into the NCAA tournament. But we also got to get the job done tomorrow.
Without question, athlete for athlete, you're as good as anybody.
Absolutely.
The physicality of this team is not quite there. You're not playing a real physical team in GW. If you win and Virginia wins, you're not playing a real physical team in Virginia. But that's been kind of a bugaboo. For the future, as far as the physicality, what's the game plan?
I think one of my most important hires will be who I hire in the spring on a strength coach. I think that's going to be one of the most important hires that I've made since I've been here, moving into a league like we're in, is that hire of the strength coach.
Final question for you. The seniors going into the game, it was really all the players, but the seniors going into the conference tournament, I think in the back of their mind they realize, hey, if we lose, or even if we win the tournament, we still got another game to play. Possibly tomorrow is their last game. Possibly Sunday, or hopefully it's down the road.
North Texas, yeah.
That makes it, this is really do or die, but especially for a bunch of seniors. And when you have a bunch of seniors, do you like that? Because they got to go in knowing if this is it.
I do like it, and but Greg, there's no time for a rah-rah, or we got to earn it. We got to get it done on the floor, and we know what we need to do, and the guys understand what we need to do, and we just got to get the job done.
Purely a business trip, right?
Straight business trip. Again, people want to know why we didn't do on this past Sunday of the selection show with the party like we usually do, because I just want to keep it a straight business trip. Plus, the last 3 years we've done it, we didn't get on the first weekend.
Yeah, he's a little bit like that, Josh. We know sometimes you want to break things that are going bad and do things and continue to do things that are going well.
But part of it is my job to give us the best chance, what I feel, to keep us locked in, to give us the best chance to have an opportunity to win the game.
Josh, thanks so much for your time.
Thanks, Greg.
Go get on the markets.
And you're not the minority. You're the majority. So I want you to know that.
I'm not the negative Nelly. Overtime is coming up next.
Thanks again to Coach Pastner. We'll have more on the Tigers later in the show. But first, Sports Files is going to help you learn how to play the game of golf. And if you already play, we're going to try to make you play better golf. More specifically, Greg King will. Greg is the director of golf at Miramichi Golf Course, and today is lesson number 2 in good golf made easy.
So today, we're going to work on the next set of fundamental disciplines of good golf made easy. We're going to work on 3 things today, and that is measuring yourself to the ball, the alignment that you need to possess in the game of golf, and as well the ball position, also known as where do you play the ball between your feet. So I'll get started with a down-the-line view of the question that I get asked all the time is, how far should I set up from the ball? And what I want to display to you here, I've got a 6-iron in my right hand, and I've got a driver in my left hand, and I've got 2 golf balls down here, and when I establish a setup with the 6-iron right there, and a driver right here, what you'll notice is that these two golf balls on the ground are dramatically different in distances that I am away from the ball. The constant that you see when you look down the line, and I'm just going to mimic a grip here, is the constant is the distance between the end of the grip and the front line of my thighs. So after you've made your athletic setup and you let your arms hang from the shoulder, you let the club tell you where it wants to rest when the bottom of the club is soled flat on the ground. This is the constant. Where do I set up for my hands? You let the club tell you how far you are away from the ball. So for fundamental alignment, I'm going to ask you to visualize a railroad track. Two parallel lines. And so that when you set up to the ball, the club face, the bottom of the club face, you always want to aim with the bottom scoring line. If you can see that that's aimed directly perpendicular to your line, once I set up, I've got these alignment rods on the ground to illustrate to you that I'm going right down this target line right here through the middle of the ball. That's my target line. So I've got these alignment rods on the ground, and I want to set up my body parallel to my target line, which includes and encompasses feet, knees, hips, and shoulders. And if I can get my body set up in correct alignments, that's a great start to Good Golf Made Easy. Greg, why don't you come in and show us a little bit? So he's going to set up to the ball in his great stance. His arms are hanging, he's got a great grip, and his lines are really good. You can see that when I set a club down right here on the front of his toes, very parallel. He's got parallel alignments in feet, knees, hips, and shoulders. He's ready to play the game. So the last fundamental we're going to work on today is ball position, or where do I play the ball between my feet? And as an important note for you, I would like to really sort of drive home that when you measure yourself the distance away from the ball and where do you play the ball between your feet, you could have the greatest swing in the world, but if you're not measured correctly, you're not going to strike it in the sweet spot of the club. So let's go over ball position just for a minute. I've got two clubs in my hand, a driver, which is the longest club in the bag, and I've got a 6-iron, sort of a middle of the road club. And what I'd like to illustrate over here is that with the driver, the longest club in the bag, I'm going to play the ball forward in my stance, just off the instep of the left heel. Some players even play it instep of the arch of my left foot or front foot. With the 6-iron, it's a shorter club, so I'm going to have to get closer. But also in ball position, where between my feet, it's much closer to the center of my stance. It's about halfway between my belt buckle and inside of my left foot. Every club has a different length, which means that we're a different distance away from the ball. And also, a good rule of thumb is just to know that the longest club in the bag, the driver, the fairway metals, we play the farthest forward in our stance. And as we get into the shorter clubs, those get closer to center. For fundamental shots, I'm going to play everything from the center of my stance forward. So Greg, let's come in and have you illustrate. We'll start with the driver on the ball position. So we've got it set up for you. When you set up, right?
Inside of the arch, you said?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Very good. You could probably even move your feet a little bit to the right to play the ball a little bit closer to the front of your stance.
Okay.
There you go. And that's a great position with driver. Now let's do the 6-iron. So you'll obviously, again, you'll have to get closer to the ball because it's a shorter club, and we're going to play the ball closer to the middle of the stance. So each club in the bag has you set up uniquely a little bit different, measure yourself uniquely a little bit different. So now you see he's got it about halfway in the center. He's letting his hands hang from his shoulders, that correct distance away from the front line of the thighs. Greg, you're ready to go. So with the 6-iron, I've got the ball played about halfway between the belt buckle and my left foot. Everything as a fundamental rule to know is that the driver, the longest club, the fairway metals are played furthest forward in my stance. As I get into my shorter clubs, my 6-iron's about halfway between belt buckle and left foot. And the shortest clubs, the wedges, are played close to center. But generally, everything's played forward of center. So now you know a bit about where to play the ball between your feet, ball position, and how to measure yourself to the ball.
Another great lesson from Greg King. Hey, March Madness is firmly underway, although the Tigers won't hit the court until tomorrow night at around 6 Central Time. We heard from Coach Josh Pastner earlier in the show as they get set to play GW. And now some thoughts from Tigers senior guards Chris Crawford and Michael Dixon Jr.
We just need to stay focused, locked in, just stay the course, just do our job, just like I just said, get the job done, we can be successful. We just got to go out there and do what we've been doing well for, 23 games, and I think that we should be fine. We got a good team, man. We got a lot of good players on this team. I think that the preparation and the time the guys are going to put in the gym is going to pay off, and we're going to be ready to play.
And that'll put a wrap on this week's show. Remember, you can catch any of our previous programs by going to WKNO.org and clicking on KNO Tonight. Have a great week, go Tigers, and we'll see you next time.